Please join us to learn more about Winbiologics.
Explore a new way of farming.
Hello, I'm Barry Aycock, your host, and today I would like to welcome my good friend Carolyn Wingate to the show.
Hey,
Carolyn.
Good to see you, Barry.
Great to have you. Carolyn, you started this company called Winbiologics. It's been really fun for you. Before we jump into all this good stuff, let's talk a little bit about you and where you're from.
I am a Wichita, Kansas native and have a lot of family there, big, massive family in Wichita, Kansas. And it's really nice to be able to start the entrepreneurial dream and raise two little kids and, you know, have the freedom to make a little bit more of an impact with life.
Ever since we've known each other, you've had that entrepreneurial spirit, and you're kind of taking advantage of that now.
Yeah, well, you know, the opportunity arose, and, you know, honestly, it's luck more than anything else. Luck and having great relationships with people. And I had a few farmers early into this business that I think believed in me more than I believed in myself. And through that, you know, them having faith that I could do it, we made our first few formulations and got those into the field and started to cash flow, and then the dream just kind of became a reality.
Well, let's talk about the dream. The dream started about 3 years ago, but not really. You've had this dream for a long time. So tell us how Winbiologics evolved over the last 20 years, because it didn't just start 2 or 3 years ago.
No, so my granddad had a company called EB Construction out of Wichita, Kansas. And, you know, my dad works for Koch Industries and has a lot to do with market-based management, and that's a very entrepreneurial company, privately owned, very large. And so I just kind of always grew up with that entrepreneurial talk, I guess, at the kitchen table, and it's definitely always been a dream. Didn't exactly know what I was going to do or when or how, but like you said, about 3 years ago, just some pieces fell into my lap, and had a supportive husband that let me take a chance of having no income, and so we did for the first year. We didn't take an income from the company and just worked and slaved and delivered everything myself, and here we are 3 years later and able to add some staff and salespeople and warehouse support, and it's been a fun ride. We've doubled every year for the past 3 years.
So Carolyn, 3 years ago, you walked off that ledge. That's a scary ledge for entrepreneurs sometimes. Yeah. But
the comfortable paycheck.
Correct.
I miss the comfortable paycheck sometimes.
But that's part of being an entrepreneur.
More thrilling.
Taking that risk. So how did you finally make the decision to get over the hump and say, I'm going to do this?
I think it was my customer base. You know, I have really good relationships in Kansas. I have farmers and retailers that I consider, you know, very good friends. That line between customer and friendship is definitely very blurred in our relationships. I think they'd do anything for me and I would do anything for them. And that just allowed the opportunity that, you know, I have a service that they don't have time to do themselves, right? Whether that's making custom formulations or something that we've come up with that's an asset to their farm. And it's not that they're not insanely smart and couldn't do them themselves, but they've got equipment, irrigation, staff, you know, they've got a million parts of the business on their farm and ranch to run. So if they can delegate over a lot of the fertility stuff to me, then that just allows them to have a little more time.
So Winbiologics became a solution for those clients, those farmers.
Yeah, great guys.
So Carolyn, without getting into each product, we're going to get into that later. Kind of give us the broad view of your sustainable ag, your product line.
So I got hooked into the regenerative agriculture scene, cult, whatever you want to call it, you know, the no-till and the cover crops, and, you know, trying to make sure you're recycling your residue and maybe limiting your nitrogen and trying to get those natural fungal systems and biological systems functioning. And it just clicked for me. It just makes total sense, the way that soil works. Although we may not know everything about how it works, right? Like could go into lots of rabbit holes here, but I will try not to. Just the fact that nature will always take care of itself, and if you can just kind of give your ground enough time and tools to repair itself, it will at an astonishing pace.
So the main plank on your products is soil health. You're promoting soil health.
I'm
right?
a soil nerd.
It's funny that you say cult because, you know, when I started in the business 25 years ago, these were all snake oils.
Right.
Now, since all the big boys and everybody's accepted these products as being legitimate, they're nutritionals. So that evolution
They're
has
catalysts,
happened.
right?
Yes.
They're not miracles. There's no bottled miracle available on the market. But, you know, I think that there's plans and there's better ways to do fertility than just throwing out anhydrous and like not looking back until planting time. Not that anhydrous doesn't work. All chemicals work. But there's just a little bit more natural approach that we take, and because we're female and because everybody in my company is female, I think we're very kind of natural nurturers of the soil, not to get too hippie or anything like that, but I think that those concepts come very easily for us, that if you take care of your soil, it'll take care of you. Maybe is that sexist? I don't know, but.
Carolyn, do you believe that the farmer has evolved over the last 25 years? They're more concerned about soil health now?
I think it depends on the demographic, honestly. There are definitely still operations that are out there for bushels every year and don't necessarily have that legacy plan in place. And then there are operations that are really thinking about how are we going to farm with limited access to energy inputs in the future. And I know those are all kind of big, scary things and topics, but it's at least prudent to be aware of maybe some upcoming legislation or upcoming things that you're going to be limited to with choice of herbicide or the amount of nitrogen you're going to be able to put on, et cetera. Just being aware so that you can learn to have a path forward.
Just a few buzzwords that are in the industry now, and I think you've captured this very well. I think you've found this niche in the market, is your platform is promoting soil health. You're trying to make that important to the farmer if they don't think it's important to the farmer. And carbon's a big buzzword. So let's talk about soil health and carbon. How does that fit in with your product line?
So carbon is kind of the catalyst of a lot of natural functions, right? And you go to school, maybe agronomy school, and you learn about the carbon to nitrogen ratio, right? Why are we not applying carbon with our nitrogen? Or do we just devoid that topic completely? And so whether producers are choosing to pump carbon into the soil via cover crops, right? Like your soil, I call them solar panels, right? They're solar panels that are collecting all the time if you have a living root in the ground and pumping root exudates or carbon or sugars into that soil process. So if you're not feeding microbiology, I mean, I like to eat, you like to eat. The soil needs to function 365 days a year, not just when you have a cash crop in the ground. And I think that as that realization of the importance of cover crops and the importance of carbon in the system, the more you devoid that carbon, the more you're going to need inputs to be able to do those same processes, right? So you can either pay for them or you can let sunlight do its thing. Sunlight and water is the only free things that you're going to get on a farm. So I don't sell cover crops, but definitely it's a big part of a systematic approach that we use with farmers. And so we have some products like Winbiologics, for example, and it's a carbon source that you can add to your starter fertility or add to your foliar application to make those nutrients more efficient.
From a farmer's standpoint, Carolyn, do you think we're at the beginning, the middle, or the end of, we're not at the end, of a farmer caring about soil health? Because 25 years ago, it was blanket recommendations for nitrogen, phosphate, potash.
Yeah.
And now we've got it down to 1 acre, 2.5 acres.
So I do not claim to be even smart on the topic, right? I have amazing friendships and PhDs of people that have studied soil biology their entire life. And those experts will admit to you that we know maybe less than 1% of what's actually happening in soil functions, right? Dr. James White is a new buzz guy that's in the industry talking about the rhizophagy cycle. And that's a brand new concept that he's proven out, but it's always happened. We just didn't understand what's happening in the soil. So I think we're definitely on the very beginning stages of it. And it's those that can kind of just trust in nature, trust in God, trust in what's been created, and try to mimic a little bit of what natural soil processes are, will probably be farther ahead than the people that truly understand it from a scientific process, because the world's very complicated, and we're just not that smart.
Which is a great time for you to launch your products in the last 2 or 3 years, because you said 1%. We're at the 1% stage.
I think
the future's
so.
ahead of you.
I think so. I think that there's a lot that we don't know about human biology, gut biology, soil biology, and there's just a little bit of that surface that's been scraped, and people's eyes are starting to understand, like, your gut is your second brain. A lot of the things that happen that we thought happened in your brain are actually happening in your gut. Well, the soil is the exact same way. So you can very closely tie human biology, animals, and soil, right? There's so many fun facts. There's limitless. We could go into a lot of rabbit holes, but like the saliva of cows, right? That is, basically a biomarker indicator for more grass to grow. And there's all these little cool things that we just have no idea about.
And that's the reason, Carolyn, you're so giddy, because the future's so bright for Winbiologics and their products, so you're launching at a great time.
Yeah, and I mean, we have products, don't get me wrong, like, we're in business to make money. I have to pay the mortgage just like everybody else, but I think that what's different about our company in particular is our network of allies and network of friendships that we have, like Dr. Liz Haney and Rick Haney are good friends of ours, lots of people, but basically the processes that we're kind of preaching, for the most part, it's their management practices changes, not necessarily jugs that we're selling you, right? Like, we kind of consider ourselves a little bit of a step ladder off the input wheel, right? And not off necessarily, but just like different ways of thinking about things, different timings, different cover crops, different ways to start recycling and reusing what's on their farm. And once you go down the regenerative rabbit hole, there's a lot of
Yes.
interesting ideas, and some of them are really profitable and some of them are terrible ideas for you, but it's the concepts that we're teaching.
Well, in the next part of our program, we're going to bring one of your friends in, and we're going to start meshing some of those products with the science you're discussing. So we'll be right back.
Yeah.
Welcome back. I would like to welcome Ray Ann McGill to the show. Ray
Hi,
Ann,
Barry. Pleasure.
it's been a long day getting to Missouri. You started in Oklahoma and Kansas, and now you're in Southeast Missouri. So
Absolutely.
thank you for being with us today.
Thank you. I'm having the world tour of those 3 states, so I'm really enjoying it.
So tell us how you got into agriculture, because you seem pretty passionate about it.
Absolutely. So I grew up on a small farm in Northern California. My parents were both high school ag educators, so I grew up around 4-H and FFA and was very involved with those programs throughout my entire youth. And I knew I wanted to go to college to study ag, and that led me to study agronomy at Colorado State. And then I've just been in the industry ever since. So I've been hooked from a young age.
So your mom and dad were a big influence on not forcing you into pushing you into ag. It was all around you at the dinner table and everything.
Absolutely, yes, yeah. It definitely wasn't forced upon me. It was something I've actively chose to be in, but it definitely didn't hurt that I was always at the county fair every year and raising goats and sheep and steers and things like that too. So I owe them a lot, obviously, for where I am now and the passion I have for this industry.
Well, thanks, Mom and Dad.
Thank you, Mom and Dad.
So, Ray Ann, you're the first road warrior that Carolyn hired when she started Winbiologics. So,
Yes.
tell us how that experience has been as a sales rep, and what's the future looking like?
Absolutely. So it's fun. Carolyn and I were just reminiscing not too long ago about how the company has grown and transitioned so much when I was first hired as the first employee. which is 15 or 16 months ago at this point, things have grown exponentially for us. And it's just so exciting to see where we've come from, working out of Carolyn's home office, having a rented warehouse space, to where we now have our own dedicated buildings, 5 or 6 employees within the company. And so that's just incredible to look back on. And moving forward, it's also really exciting to see where we're gonna go, because we need to add headcount in the sales arena, and we have so many new retail accounts in different states outside of Kansas that I just think the sky's the limit for us. So it's really exciting.
Before we went on the air, you said that you had the American degree of FFA.
Yes, yes.
I can tell you were the world champion speaker. So great job.
Thanks, thank you.
So are you still a big supporter of the FFA?
I am, yes, I absolutely am. I am involved with the Kansas FFA organization, and I actually help at different judging events that they have. So I've been a public speaking judge, so it's kind of fitting maybe from my experience with that organization. And I'm still involved locally within Kansas.
I think 0.5% get the American degree, is that right? Is that what it's called, the American degree?
The American FFA degree, yes, yes. So that's awarded to, it's a rigorous application process where you have to submit a lot of documentation from your multiple years in FFA and record bookkeeping.
Your whole life, right?
Yeah, so I have the American FFA degree, which I'm really proud of.
That's impressive. And once you're involved, you're always involved, right?
Absolutely. It's in my DNA.
Well, let's get back to Winbiologics. When you came aboard, I don't know what your first role was. I don't know if it was sales or not. I think it was, but building relationships, that's a big part of sales. So
absolutely.
Do you feel like you're good at that?
I would say I am. And I think Carolyn would agree, and hopefully my customers feel the same.
Very naturally gifted. And in any startup, when you just have a few people, you wear a lot of different hats, right? So she's sales, she sometimes delivers, she's the bean queen. We do a lot of social media and TikTok, and we have a whole content calendar of things that we're trying to push out. So she pitches in at anything needed and has been just amazing.
Which, as an entrepreneur, you can appreciate that, because
Absolutely.
it takes everybody wearing every hat. I remember my wife was a forklift driver at times.
Yeah.
So let's get into sales. How's sales been for you for the last 2 years? Are you happy with where you're at with sales?
I'm very proud of where we are, and I'm very proud of how we've been able to grow our business, also to scale as far as the service and knowledge that we're providing to our retailers and our customers. Because I think that a lot of people can grow a territory, but can you grow it where it's sustainable in the long term, where you have a very solid foundation of supporters? And so I think that we've been able to grow our business so much, but also increase and grow our footprint of the service and knowledge that we're bringing our retailers. And for us, that is always our end goal. Mm-hmm. And whenever we, work with our customers and our retail partners, it's knowledge and value before we're talking about sales. Mm-hmm. So that's our approach, and it might be a bit different than other approaches, but that's what's worked the best for us.
Yeah.
I think it's unique because Carolyn educates the farmer, the consumer, and you have to take that education to the farm. Farmers are a lot smarter nowadays than they were 25 years ago. Mm-hmm. They do more things scientific based. So there has to be a lot of education with selling your products, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely, and that's something that Carolyn and I are really involved with. We have multiple field days throughout the year on different farms across the state of Kansas. And at the foundation of our company and business is grower knowledge. How can I help them be a better farmer, be a better steward, and be a better community member? So that's really what we focus on at the foundation. So maybe that makes us different.
Yeah, and we try to find those farmers that are progressive, in these type of regenerative models, and really have their back and support them, or have a field day at their particular farm to invite all their neighbors that have probably been watching over the fence what they've been doing with cover crops, or doing mob grazing, or just some different interesting things, right? And say, dig a soil health pit and say, this is why we're doing this. And I think that, trying to champion the weirdos, I guess, those that are doing things a little different, and inviting that community in to see why, I think that that's been really impactful. We've definitely seen some breakout stars, I guess, that have just really kind of taken on that education role within their own community and have said, hey, I'm buying a Hagee and who's in, and it's just been incredible to watch those communities blossom.
So you're challenging them to be different.
I think it's fun to be boring.
Get
right?
outside the box, right? Think outside the box.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of benefit, right? To just doing something different than the way Grandpa did, even though he was a great guy and we all loved him, right? Nobody's talking bad about Grandpa. Just things evolve.
Well, I know, Carolyn, you've always been a big proponent, especially when you started your own business of social media. Mm-hmm. But Rayanne, we've already talked about it, is known as the Bean Queen. So tell us how that evolved.
Kansas Bean Queen, yes. So
Kansas Bean Queen. So are you embracing that?
I'm embracing it wholeheartedly. That was a nickname that one of my prior companies gave me for soybean sales within that organization, and I've just run with it because there's a little bit of like tongue-in-cheek with it, and it's a funny name, but we do a lot of marketing and customer outreach and education on social media. TikTok is a very helpful platform for small businesses like us that don't have the capital to go out and advertise on large TV platforms or during a football game or things like that. And so, it's maybe a bit silly that we use TikTok and social media so much, but we can reach an audience, we can be educational, and we can really get a point across. So we use TikTok, Winbiologics, Bean Queen. And
people get to see it, right? So, we'll go to different dealers and we'll meet up with them on days that they're running loads of urea, and we'll try to be there with them that first day that they're running the urea. A of all, as you know, there can be some little tiny tweaks to equipment that could be better application or better handling of their product. And then it's also just fun to share those stories on social media as well. And, we've actually gotten quite a few really large sales from accounts outside the state that have seen us, seen our products, and said, we want to be a part of what you're doing.
So Rayanne, let's get into some of your product line. This is an exciting product line that you've brought to the farmer, you and Carolyn. Tell me a little bit about your number one product, WinBioGold.
WinBioGold is one of our favorite products. It's a carbon catalyst, or a biology enhancer, we like to say. So it is a very clean and very pure and concentrated liquid fulvic acid. We have a lot of growers that incorporate the WinBioGold in with their starter fertility programs, or in with their 28 or 32% in season, or even with the fungicide or herbicide applications. It plays a lot of different roles, but what it's doing is it's bringing carbon to the table. Carolyn, do you want to touch on that?
What crops, Carolyn, do we use this product on?
It can, it's very, very versatile, and I know that sounds a little bit like snake oil, right? But if you think of carbon as a catalyst or a food source for biology, and a food source that signals different plant response systems, it's made from lignardite, right? And it's basically old compacted plant material, and that plant material has a memory. So when you're doing the extraction from lignardite into humic acid and then refined again into fulvic acid, there's many ways of getting that done. And the industry of humics and fulvics is a little bit unclear because the testing methodology of the humics and fulvics is so different. So a higher number on the box did not necessarily mean it's a better product, because there's so many different ways that these can be extracted.
Yes.
It's a little confusing. And so what we have done is we've chosen products that are easy to handle and they have the best impact on actual yield in the field, right? And so that's what I think makes this WinBioGold product different than some other humic substances is it's very clean. It's actually like kind of a tea or a yellow color. You can see through it. So if you have red ball systems, or if you're wanting to mix it with 1034O or mix with herbicide, we have yet to find something that it doesn't mix well with.
Well, Carolyn, as you know, you and I can talk about humic and fulvics all day and all night. I mean, there's many different variations, yes. But one telling deal about humics is the cleanliness of it. Does it fall out? Do you find a bunch of stuff in the bottom? So this is a clean product. You're
It's
telling
a very clean product, and also the way it's manufactured. If it's extracted with harsh chemicals or a heat process, it loses some of that biological integrity. And I think that some of the plant hormone signaling is a lot more important. Again, we kind of talked about, we don't necessarily know all the different things that are happening in nature, but since this humic and fulvic, the fulvic acid is derived from decomposed plant material originally, there's just a lot of things that are happening within that plant system and biological soil system that honestly, I don't know that we know all of the benefits.
Yeah, there's so many, and humic acid and fulvic are so pH dependent, not only with the formulation, but also in the plant and in the soil. So we'll get in the weeds later, okay? So Rayanne, tell us about your product, soy sauce, Win. Tell us about that product. I've heard a lot about it over the years since Carolyn began. So tell us about soy sauce.
Absolutely. Soy sauce is our top shelf foliar micronutrient that we have. It's geared primarily for soybeans. Given the name, we have a lot of fun naming products, but we have a lot of customers that use it on cotton and corn acres. So what soy sauce is it's a 50% by weight potassium acetate blend with nitrogen, boron, manganese, and fulvic acid, and a couple of other goodies mixed in there as well too. We have growers that apply that either with their first pass of herbicide application or with a fungicide application across all different row crops. What we've actually been seeing with that product, particularly because of the potassium and the boron, is a lot of success with growers applying it with each of their PICS applications with cotton. So trying to, at each of those fruiting nodes, storing boron and potassium in that crop plant to prevent boll slough off of our money bolls at the bottom of the cotton plant. So soy sauce is a really versatile foliar that we have, and guys really love it. They also love the name. It's fun to say, oh, do you want the low sodium or the original soy sauce? Those kind of things we can joke around with retailers.
Yeah, and we've had a lot of fun on social media that, some of the top corn growers in the United States have used this product and, kind of have fun with it when they're doing their Wonder conference season about, oh, we put soy sauce on it. And we actually on social media, I hope we don't get sued, but we have people buying the little Kinkerman's bottles and pretending to fill their 1,000-gallon tank with actual
soy sauce.
Chinese soy sauce. That might be a little bit of a rabbit hole, but it's been a lot of fun just to kind of see how people have played off the name. And
That's been a very successful product in your product line from day one, right?
Yeah.
Rayanne, tell us about Essential Win ZNP, because that's a popular product in your product line.
It is. So Essential Win ZNP we have geared more towards our grass crops like corn and wheat growers. That's going to be a top shelf blend of macro and micronutrients. We have growers that are including that anywhere from in furrow to a 2x2 placement or even dribbled on the top with their planter system to a herbicide pass or a fungicide pass. The differentiator with that product from certain products in the market is that it also incorporates fulvic acid, and all of those micronutrients are going to be chelated. So it's going to give you a larger window of application for anything that's soil applied. So our guys that are putting it with their starter blends, it's going to give them some protection there as well.
So Rayanne, there's a lot of micronutrient packages, NPK packages out there, macro, micro. What makes this special or more active?
I want to have Carolyn answer that question.
Carolyn,
Yeah.
what makes this product special?
I think like all of our products, we really try to use that carbon catalyst mechanism to help drive the delivery into the plant system. We also have a few other things in that are, I hate the word proprietary. If it was legal to put everything on the label, I absolutely would.
So Rayanne, tell us about this. I feel like these products were named after you. Bean Queen Light, Bean Queen Wind, the seed treatments.
Absolutely.
Is that a big market? I know it's a growing market in general, but is that a popular product in your product line?
It's a growing product within our portfolio. We have an amazing partnership with a seed dealer in South Central Kansas who really helped us get this product, this soybean inoculant, off the ground, and to him we're forever grateful. It's a growing market that we're trying to tap into. We, as a smaller company, we work with a lot of independent farmer dealers that are maybe not your traditional retail channel, and so we wanted to be able to bring them a great product in the form of a liquid soybean inoculant. And so Bean Queen Win is a standard 2-strain Brady rhizobia inoculant for soybeans. And of course, we were able to name it something fun because as a small business, we have that.
Y'all must be having some great
flexibility.
brainstorming sessions on names, is that right?
We do. So another product that we're coming out with and actually going to be able to launch this year is called Sweet Caroline. So it's going to be Sweet Caroline Bump, Bump, Bump with a P instead of a B. Anyway.
That's a great name.
But anyway, it's a sugar product that we're coming up with, and again, another carbon source. It can be mixed with the Winbio Gold or used as a foliar standalone product. And we just really believe in anytime you're putting down nutrients, there should be a carbon catalyst that goes with that.
Rayanne, tell us about this product that's kind of taken the industry by storm. Pink Safe MBPT.
Absolutely, Barry. I'm so glad you asked. So this is our lead product that we have. This is a nitrogen stabilizer for liquid or urea that has a both above and below ground protection package. As you can see, it's a bit different than other stabilizers on the market. It's got a phenomenal dye package, which is actually the brainchild of a couple of collaborations that we have with some of our independent retailers, where they had asked us to bring a differentiated product to the market as far as a dye pack for visibility and vibrancy out in the field.
I love that because as a person who uses MBPT a lot on my own farms, the blue and the green, once they're applied, they fade fast. So that has some staying power, I can tell.
So this is both a really wonderful thing and also not so good, because you can really see the spread pattern of urea. So if you have a really good applicator that's really paying attention and doing his job well, the farmer can walk into the field. It's kind of like that construction orange color, even though it's pink, and they can really see that the retailer did in fact treat their urea, and you can really see it in the field. Hopefully you have a good applicator, because they'll also be able to see if they leave a big swath.
I'm sure it looks awesome coming out.
It does. It was a dealer of ours really wanted something different besides kind of the industry standard. And, because we're really small, we were able to, I went to the chemist and said, hey, what options do we have? They then went to a dye packet company, and we worked around with a few different formulations for a few months, did some stability testing, and were able to come to market in trials with this a few years ago, and now we've been able to launch it a lot larger application, and the dye pack holds up really well. This has been in the
Yes.
jar for months.
I mean, just from a psychological marketing standpoint, it makes the farmer think they're getting their money's worth. Yeah, you really treated it. It's not fading in the field.
Well, in the dye packet's also really important just to make sure that in the application, the treater, everything is in fact treated. So there is actually a reason why the dye packet has to be in there, just to make sure you're not getting half of it treated. You make sure all of the urea that's being treated is evenly coated.
Well, Rayanne, let's move on to Safe N Stable. That's a kind of a popular growing product in your repertoire. Tell us about that.
Absolutely. So Safe and Stable is our other nitrogen stabilizer and management tool that we have geared towards anhydrous ammonia applications as well as liquid nitrogen applications. So that is our solution to a bactericide nitrification inhibitor. So that is going to be our solution to your traditional nitrification inhibitors that are preventing nitrogen loss by killing soil biology. Here at Winbiologics, we're obviously very focused on soil health, and so we're really proud of offering that product because we're able to offer a nitrogen management tool as well as offer growers with a biological perspective a bit of a resource there.
Yeah.
If you didn't hear anything else out of this conversation we're having, it's soil health, right? Y'all push soil health. How many times a day do you say that?
It's what fuels the planet, right? It's what fuels all biological systems, all food, CO2 respiration. It's how everything else functions. And I probably am a little bit narrow-minded because it's what I think about all day. But I think it's hugely important. And I think that farmers that kind of go down this path realize how many benefits there are to them on farm by paying a little more attention to their growing medium, right? Hydroponics is one, but it doesn't include biology. You're going to have to have input after input after input.
So Carolyn, you're kind of a student of the game, but when you started 3 years ago, which it really was a lot longer than 3 years ago, you realized that you were a one-woman show, right?
Yeah.
But you had to have a research program. You couldn't just go out and create these products with no research behind
Well, there's
them.
another girl behind that. Her name is Melissa Nelson.
Okay.
Performance Crop Research is out of Great Bend, Kansas. It's an independently owned, very, very nice facility. They do top-notch research for all the big companies, right? She's done a really great job growing her business. And so she was naturally that person that I wanted to turn to. We do a lot of on-farm trials as well, but just for the dedicated, replicated trial work, Melissa has done a really good job laying those out for us.
Well, let's talk about some of your research. We talked about it off camera, but your first research trial, you've got the results from this season. Tell us about that.
We have a whole stack of research from Melissa to go through, but in preparation for this interview, we just kind of picked the one that we sell a lot of, which is the Winbio Gold product, which is that refined fulvic acid that we feel like is honestly different than most fulvic acids on the market anywhere. There's other people that sell it, but like we talked about with it's not all created equal. So we focus on, nitrogen and phos reduction, whether that's right or wrong. We like to kind of put experiments out that point to that you can possibly get the same or better bushels by taking better care of your ground and incorporating that carbon piece. So with the trial work we did, we try to do always reduction trials. So we did 5 gallons 1034O and 4 gallons 1034O. 5 gallons was just plain Jane 1034O. The 4 gallons had 1 quart of our Winbio Gold in it, which in this year, that's around $6.25 an acre, something like that to the grower. So we had an 11 plus bushel bump on that trial with reducing the phosphate. And I think also the story there is that when you're feeding carbon or feeding this Winbio Gold into that system, if you're able to activate fungal networks, fungal mycorrhiza breaks down phosphorus, right? And so it's lazy just like everything else. If you're going to continue to put out tons and tons of phosphorus, that mycorrhiza fungi is not going to actually have to provide for itself, right? But if it's hungry and you give it a food source, you can actually get a lot more phosphorus out of your soil that becomes available to the plant. And that's what this experiment showed.
So with just my quick math, that was about a $50 to $60 an acre return for spending $6.25.
Yeah, not bad.
Over-
And you get to use less phosphate. We didn't figure in the price of phosphate.
So it actually is a bigger margin than that because you're not figuring the savings on the fertilizer. So has most of your research shown that, your preliminary results?
Yeah, that is what shows with on-farm research as well as dedicated, professional research. Not that our farmers aren't professional, but they don't take the time to do the replications. I would say 5 to 15 bushels on that product is very, very normal for what we see. And basically, the more devoid of carbon your soil is, the lower CEC and the drier environments that don't get as much nutrient cycling, I would say that number can get pushed up even more. And I'm going to throw the I-states under the bus for just a second, but if your soil has, if you have deep, nice, rich, dark soil with lots of carbon in it, it's probably not going to be as useful in those situations.
So your more marginal soils that need help.
Right.
So Carolyn,
We can't all be lucky and live in Iowa.
that's true. You are not only agronomists, you are also educators. You have to educate the consumer on what they're buying from you.
Yeah.
These products don't sell themselves. It takes some explanation.
Well, it's a new way of thinking, right? And it's not necessarily like you're laying out NPK. We're trying to educate different ways of using that fertility or using that herbicide.
What model of distribution are you using? You're going direct to the farmer, retailers? What's your distribution?
We don't go direct to farmer. We rely heavily on independent retailers, and that retailer might look a little different and might be shunned from other traditional distributors, but maybe the guy has a very healthy seed business and wants to do a little bit on the foliar application or starter application to make his seed look better, right? We're all about making that seed dealer look better or that farmer look better. And those partnerships of, the independent applicators that have a few rigs, free liquid rigs, and they're doing a lot of custom application, or the independent retailers that have the decision to buy from whoever they want, not just the big boys. They hand select all the products that they think are the best representation for their farmer. They tend to be our best allies because, again, we're happy to bring that education not only to them, but we like to work actually through the farm gate and do kind of a pull-through method of distribution where we're educating the farmers and then sending them to that retailer with that knowledge in hand.
Well, that seems like a win-win situation for the retailer because Rayanne's out there pulling the product through for them.
Yeah, and it's hard to keep staff these days. That's just kind of rampant throughout the industry, right? And so I think we consider ourselves a little bit of an extension or sales arm of their sales organization, or if they have a new college grad, we'll ride along and teach them how to do cold calls. I think that is a big asset to our retailers that, we're trying to grow their business.
Rayanne, tell us a little bit about your relationship with the retailers and pulling through that business for them.
Absolutely. So like Carolyn mentioned, we do a lot of pull through. And for us, that seems to be the best way that we can bring value to the retailer, in addition to bringing them a very high quality product at a very good price point. We're also able to bring them business and bring them acres and new customers. In addition to working with independent retailers, we've also built some amazing relationships with some larger organizations across the Great Plains in the United States, where some of these larger cooperative outfits may still not be getting the service or the product that they would like from their larger supplier. So for example, this product, Safe and BBT, has found a home in some larger organizations across the Great Plains that may not be your small mom and pop retailer, because again, there's a need in an industry for a differentiated product.
Better handling, smells better, treats better. There's a lot of Me Too products on the market, but we feel like we've really brought something special with this one because it's the guys on the ground that are handling the product that are telling their boss and feeding it up the chain and saying, like, this works better than XYZ that we were told to use by the big organization. And so I would say a lot of our sales, even though they go through the larger organizations, they're very grassroots. It's because the operator, the farmer, the agronomist is saying, hey, these girls actually have something that's different than you can get through the traditional distribution channel. Well,
speaking from experience, I hope y'all never have this feeling. It's a terrible call when someone calls you and tells you that their fertilizer rig stopped up, it's too wet, the humidity's making it, so yes.
We haven't had one.
I hope you never have that call.
We haven't had one yet.
Even in 20 degrees, we've gotten good feedback of this being blended and spread, but absolutely.
So,
yeah.
Carolyn, how many employees
Pinch myself, right?
Right.
So far, so good.
How many employees do you have working with you now, all females besides your husband?
Well, we keep the boys in the back because they can lift heavy things better than we can, right? That's just the truth. And they're better. So my husband does the accounting side of the business, and then we recently hired somebody out of the Amazon system to run our warehouse, and he is very sharp. And then the front of the house is women currently. It's not that boys aren't as smart or capable as we are. But it's just it's a sample size of 2, right? So
well, it seems to be working for you.
Yeah, we are actively hiring and going through the interview process in basically all the states that touch Kansas. And that's just because we have amazing dealers that we'd like to spend more time with. And with the 2 of us, we've really outgrown, kind of our reach of the time that we'll be able to spend and pull all of those sales through. So we're looking for people that kind of share our value set on soils and are going to be able to help in that education process.
Carolyn, continued success with Winbiologics. You've done a great job growing the company since day one. It's been fun watching your exponential growth, but everybody can use more customers. So tell this new customer out there or viewer how they can get a hold of Winbiologics.
We are available on every platform available at Winbiologics. We also have a website, winbiologics.com, but we have LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, all the things, right? We also, for this show, made a little hashtag that is WinBioSwagBag. Hopefully they can put that in this area. And we have a lot of swag we designed. So this is kind of our little slogan. We wet our plants, right? Because we enjoy the rain. And you can tag a cute baby and we'll send you one of these. But yeah, if you wanted to drop us a message on social media with that hashtag, we'll be sure to get some things and pick some things out for farmers. And we always appreciate the business and then appreciate those retail partners that you prefer to do business with in your area. And we need help trying to figure out who your person is.
The future's bright for Winbiologics.
Literally.